Sacrifice, Killing Roses, a story adapted by Alvaro Ramos. We should never have gone to that mountain. It was late February when Andres and I decided to venture to southern Mexico. We were looking to escape the noise of the city and immerse ourselves in nature. We had heard about a little explored mountain range, one surrounded by myths and legends that the elders of the nearby villages only shared with their grandchildren. We didn't mind. We packed our backpacks, brought supplies, and excitedly set off on the hike. The trip was long, mostly because of connections. It's not like you can fly there and then take a taxi to your hotel. First, we had to get to the Veracruz airport and from there take a second-class bus to another town. There, we had to wait for a collective taxi to reach another smaller community and, from there, begin the hike up the mountain. We didn't stay at the place where the taxi dropped us off for long. We only stopped at a store to buy water, batteries, and something light to eat. We had everything else in our backpacks and we weren't going to be there for long. We asked for the easiest route to cover this circuit, and a kind woman told us there were two ways. The first was to follow the entire path she called La Rodada, which was easier and safer, but offered fewer visual attractions. It was practically the road used by the few who had cars to travel from one community to another. The second option was exactly what we wanted. Away from people with beautiful views surrounded by nature and quiet, but she did warn us that it could be dangerous, because if something happened to us, it wouldn't be easy to notify anyone. Confident in our experience and skills, we decided to take that route. If you have any problems, go to Roses. People there can help you, the woman told us before bidding us a warm goodbye. Indeed, that path was the right one, good for what we thought we wanted to see. We walked for several hours, stopping for a long time, taking photographs and talking about the little time we've had to see each other lately as well as about our families, until Andres's alarm started going off. Suddenly, he has a habit of going camping or doing some other activity, and he has to be back at camp before sunset. He sets his alarm an hour before sunset so he can return. We had walked quite a while and didn't know how far we were from where we started, but we did know we were far enough away to. So we decided to walk without stopping and look for a kill. The first town we came to was small, with dirt roads and adobe houses. The residents were friendly, although there was something strange in their expressions, a look of curiosity and caution. They told us about the mountain and offered us a place to stay in a nearby cabin to explore without worrying about the night. An older man with rough hands and a smile that couldn't be seen in his eyes told us. Something in her tone made me uncomfortable, but Andres, always more confident, accepted the hospitality. It was at that moment that we met Mirda, a young woman dressed in white and wearing flowers. There was something ethereal about her presence, something that immediately drew us in. She spoke enthusiastically about the mountains, describing it as a beautiful place full of hidden wonders. "I hope you can stay longer," she told us with an almost melancholic smile. She seemed sad and nervous, as if she wanted us to follow her to a more secluded place. However, she was never alone. An elderly woman with a strong gaze who seemed to be. Her mother kept a constant watch over her, along with two men older than her. They were apparently her brothers. There was something about the way they surrounded her that unsettled us, something that, to avoid causing trouble, we steered clear of her. As night fell, the town took on an even more eerie atmosphere. The few lights in the houses were dim, as if they were about to go out. The night wind carried murmurs, muffled laughter, and a thick scent of burnt herbs. It was then that we noticed the trees at the end of the road. Their twisted branches bore strange figures made of bones and braided hair. Some were humanoid shapes with elongated limbs and grotesque faces carved into small animal skulls. Others resembled indecipherable symbols, turning slightly in the wind as if watching us. It was at that moment that a man approached us. He was tall, with dark skin and dark eyes that seemed empty. He introduced himself as the village's chief witch doctor and offered us a protection job. He claimed it would cost 5,000 pesos. Each of us would make an amulet that would guarantee our safety on the mountain. "This isn't a place for tourists," Dee said in a raspy voice, "but if you accept my protection, nothing will happen to you." Andres tried to politely decline, but the sorcerer insisted, moving closer, almost invading our personal space. "The mountain takes what it wants. If you don't pay the right price, you might pay with something more valuable. We've seen many like you succumb to the power of this mountain. I just want to help you return home safely." His tone was so different that the discomfort turned into fear. At dawn, without saying goodbye, we gathered our things and went down to another nearby village on another part of the mountain, where we were greeted with less suspicion. When we checked our backpacks, we noticed some belongings were missing. A household knife, a flashlight, and, most disturbingly, my notebook. We decided to go back to Killing Roses, but when we mentioned our intention, a man who was helping us stopped us. "Don't go there," he warned with a seriousness that chilled my spine. "Blood falls on the first Friday in March. These people protect the mountain, and it's a very special day for them. Interrupting it would be disrespectful." We understood that there were places where they liked to respect their traditions, but in that notebook were very personal things, memories of happy times, sad times, and, why not say it, things that were making me feel like I was ruining life as I knew it, which is why I had to go back no matter what. So we ignored them and went back with the idea that we'd been robbed. We went slowly, and it was as if deep down we didn't want to go back, not out of fear, but more because it would take away time from what we really wanted to do. But what can I say, I'm very stubborn when it comes to personal things. It took us a couple more hours to arrive, almost at 3 p.m. I thought I'd just get to the place where we slept, ask for my notebook back and then head back to the trail, but when we arrived the atmosphere had changed. There were bonfires burning and people moving through the trees as if they were shadows. The sun wasn't rising directly, but once again, you could see that halo of light falling directly to the ground from the trees, as if marking the exact spot to stand. The people looked so strange and hurried that we decided not to show ourselves right away. We hid in a thicket on a hillside before they knew we were there, perhaps taking it as an offense. From the hillside, we saw that it was somewhat ceremonial. People in highly decorated clothing were standing at the spots marked by the sunlight between those strange trees at the end of the path was the ceremony. Men and women in dark robes surrounded a stone altar. A young woman was tied up, her skin paler in the fading sunlight. The people around us murmured in a local language. And suddenly they lit a circle with a star inside. The light from the star's fire illuminated the people's faces better, but not especially that of the young woman they had tied up. We immediately knew it was Mirda, the girl from the night before, whose gaze was trying to tell us something, and we, for fear of not being allowed to spend the night there, decided to ignore it. It's a kind of play, a performance, or we were actually facing something darker. Andres looked at me in confusion, and I watched him as if waiting for a sign of what to do when, out of nowhere, a scream completely shattered our stability. The leader, the Zuch, embedded it inside the village offering, which immediately began to fade, and that night, the white cloth began to turn dark. People raised their voices while singing something only they understood, and the main group lifted Mirda up to lay her on the stone altar. It wasn't a theatrical performance, it was really happening and we were witnesses. My mind began to spin uncontrollably, and I felt very dizzy and weak. I was on the verge of fainting. That's when Andres brought me back to life and said, "Let's get out of here. If they see us, they'll do the same thing to us." As best he could, he held me in place. We put our hands on his shoulder and began to walk stealthily. We knew the whole town was busy with their ritual, but we still had to be discreet so the locals wouldn't notice we were there. It was around the time Andres adopted the habit of setting that alarm, when the dogs barking and the voices of some children told us we were going to be discovered. There was no time to feel bad. I had to run or be part of the ritual taking place there. I don't remember how we escaped. I only know that we ran without looking back, the echo of chants and voices following us, causing the town to tremble by nightfall, unable to explain what we saw. We didn't know if they would believe us or if perhaps they had similar customs. And then we would represent a threat. So we decided to keep quiet and return to where we had met the man who had warned us. We had planned to ask him for a place to spend the night, but when he saw us he said, "You can't come through here, they'll bring you here and we can't. We have nothing to do with them." We immediately knew what he meant when we told him we wanted to leave. He asked if he could help us get out of there to a place where we could spend the night and we would pay him 10,000 pesos. The man didn't accept, but he pointed us toward a camping route where we could find a half-abandoned little house, which the local park rangers had built. No one used it because there was no money to maintain it. Grateful for the tip, we walked through the darkness, surrounded by trees and seas that only watched us. Sure enough, ahead was a small wooden house, almost ready to fall down. It wasn't going to rain, so we didn't care which part of the roof had fallen in. We just wanted to feel safe if that was really an option. Today I don't remember what we talked about all night. In fact, I don't know if we said a word. The shock was so great that we probably just sat there, silent, processing what we had just seen, convincing ourselves it wasn't real. That it has still been part of a communal act. At dawn we left, returned home immediately, and didn't speak again for 2 months. We needed to process everything individually. Today my relationship with Andres is good again, but for reasons I don't know they aren't optimal. That night our lives changed. Andres fell ill shortly afterward with an inexplicable illness that is slowly consuming him. I have lost jobs, relationships, friends. A shadow seems to follow me around every corner, a murmur that whispers my name. When I try to sleep, I feel its presence in mirrors, windows, and dark corners, where the human I shouldn't see anything. I think she's punishing me for having helped her when she needed it most, but I also think that I can't do anything for her and that what's haunting me is just the result of some dark magic that those people may have done to me with the information they took from my notebook. Some of the things that happen to me are too specific and are like messages from someone who knows my darkest secrets. Maybe we never should have gone to that mountain, but now it's too late to escape.